Hey everybody, are you ready to do rebranding for fun and profit? Well, that's what we're going to answer today on this episode of the Marketing Happy Hour. I am Dr. Vogelman, Dr. Christopher Vogelman, as Dr. V, available all over social media as Dr. Vogelman, and partnered with this guy over here for Epic Win Agency, Dr. John Paduchak.
I'm not even a doctor, and I don't play one on TV.
All right, but there is one more doctor in the house. And there
this
he
guy
is.
down here.
Dr. K.
Surrounded by
Dr.
doctors.
K.
Yes.
The implementation.
Hello. I'm happy to be here and excited about today's topic.
Me too.
How excited are you?
Very excited.
Super excited.
Yes.
So we explored branding previously on another episode of the Marketing Happy Hour. And this time, well, this topic actually came about because of a super secret project that we're doing that we can't talk to you about right now. So that's my cliffhanger for today. But we're going to still talk about rebranding because of its importance in attracting attention and improving, leveling up your marketing. So as Drucker used to say, it makes sales superfluous. So, Dr. K, would you like to start us off today?
No, I like you.
John, would you like to start us off today?
Well, gee, I don't know. Sure.
All right. So here's the thing. Where there's three. So let's go back. If we went back, actually, let's look. I'm going to say, because some people didn't see this. Because what happened was it didn't project in the John Paduchak page for some reason. It didn't project in a couple other places. I want you to relook at this video right now, which was our intro video, because there's three important elements of branding that I want you to remember. Okay, what were those three?
Okay.
Quiz.
What is it? Story?
Story.
Beliefs?
And
something else.
I promise.
Promise.
That's
the promise of your brand, what it implies a promise. So those, if we just look at those three elements, there's an awful lot of stuff that we can talk about, even relative to our current brands that we have, because each of us has our own personal brand, right?
Right,
yes.
Exactly. I thought when you were talking about this, you were talking about the actual elements of our brand in the video, because you can see the Marketing Happy Hour in several places.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we're not prepared to talk about that because that's part of the super secret project that mum's the word. Shh, don't say anything.
Don't tell anybody.
So, John, you had in personal branding, your thing was you had a couple of things going on there. You had a caricature, which we're not going to talk about right now.
Yeah, at the time it was a very fun, kind of cool thing to do caricatures, and people at that period of time had superhero caricatures, of themselves as superheroes and all of that stuff. And I made this kind of cute little character of me teaching that people thought was scary and repulsive.
Only some of us.
I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool.
But are you your market? That's the question.
I'm not. Yeah, other people maybe not so much. But and then as time went along, I saw how other people brand themselves. I ended up just doing a simple branding with my initials for my John Paduchak site, and then my corporate site is Targeted Net Solutions. And then we came up with a little Target logo for that, just something really simple, which will probably evolve this year. And then we had Videos or Social, which you helped me design the logo for.
That is correcto.
And I can see that in the name of your brands, like Videos or Solutions or Targeted Net Solutions, you're already implying the promise.
There's a promise there.
Yeah, that there's a target, and we're going to help you hit it.
Or as they say in New England, there's a target.
Target. Mostly on my back.
Target on my back. So when you think about the personal brand, though, I find this very interesting because how do you present yourself in personal branding or personal rebranding?
Yeah.
Like what are the beliefs or what are the elements or What if you were to put? Let's do this, because this came up today in a Zoom call that I was on. What would you describe? One word that would describe your brand.
Simplifier.
That's good. I like that, John.
One word that would describe my brand. One word that would describe my brand. You got me on that one a little bit. I'm thinking. Well, no, I think targeted, I think, describes my brand, because it's, it's very, I like to keep things focused. Yeah.
So if I'm,
he's like a sniper.
he's
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I have that in common. We get the reticles there.
Yeah, there you go.
Whereas if I were to come up with one word, it would be a word that I've coined, which is funumental.
There you go. So, well, this part of personal branding, and well, it oozes into business branding too. But the part of personal branding is, as you guys know, it's part of the work that I do for some of my clients. In that whole fascinate assessment certification that I have got. So we basically, with or without that assessment, the idea of personal brand should be around a few concepts. One is, what is the highest strength or the top strength that you have? How is it that you help other people in the context of delivering value? So it's either the highest value that you deliver or highest strength that you have, that kind of a thing. Like that's why I have Simplifier, because it's both my strength and the value that I deliver to one of to my clients. So when I work with people on building their personal brands, we go through that process. There are a bunch of assessments that I ask them to do. There are some homework material and that sort of thing. So basically, I want them to understand how is it that they individually create success. What has been their patterns in the past? What words that can be put on it? Then usually a combination of a two-word combination for personal brand would work really well. So, for example, I did this process a while ago in a workshop for a group of people, and I used the example of my own strengths. So, for example, the first version of it, which you use an adjective and a noun, became like a forward-thinking solutions. Then you think, okay, that's nice, that's to the point, but it's kind of long, maybe, and also you want to make it punchier. So that forward-thinking solutions, I thought, well, actually, forward-thinking problem solver. And I thought, if I'm going to work with one of those, I like to keep this problem solver, but what can I do with the forward thinking? So to make it punchier and also kind of use the power of innovation, innovation and creativity, I changed that to Maverick problem solver. That started to make more connection with people. So that's an example of all of that. But I have been doing this for a bunch of years, different versions, and eventually, unfortunately, I'm very happy to say I was able to boil it down into one word, which is Simplifier. So that's now my brand. It's the business brand. It's on my business card. It's the business title. It's domain name. Everything is around simplifying and Simplifier.
But you have simplified.zone though. Do you have simplifier.com or .net or?
No, well, .com is like I don't know, $50,000 or so.
Yeah, you have that in your pocket, don't you? You carry that around. That's fun money. That's fun money.
But my money is in Canadian dollars, so basically,
that's true. So you come up a little short at the end of the day.
Yes, like $50,000 Canadian, which what is like $7 US?
No, $7 US.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of. It's one of those blessings in disguise that .com and .net and all of that was nice, because if you don't have to .com, all the other ones are kind of tricky. Yeah. Then I noticed .zone is available, which is basically, it implies a mindset, implies a location. This is where you show up. This is the zone of simplifying things, simplification. So I think that's a good power word to have as a domain name. So it's working for me.
It's good.
Makes good sense.
Yes.
And John Paduchak.
Oh gosh, we've gone through so many different types of rebranding stuff. But the big thing, I work with people on making technical concepts simpler, easier to understand. And so and then videos being related socially. Videos are social was one of the things that we came up with as one of our brands.
Are you the video simplifier? Because you were like a live stream simplifier to a great extent, providing
To a great
those services.
extent, yeah. To a great extent.
Yeah.
Because you're doing live
I
events
think
for people.
if we are delivering value to our clients, doesn't matter what we do, we are something simplified.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So as long as we don't shorten video simplifier to vilifier, but we're good with video.
Vilifier.
Yeah. But we definitely went the direction of videos and social media being related, and the bulk of social media messaging being video. It'll be 85 to 90% next year.
Yeah, it's getting higher and higher. They said
Higher and higher,
83
okay.
before, and I think you're right. I think it's over 85%. But that's all internet traffic, which is crazy. Which is why we need more bandwidth. Which we need higher speed. We need all these other things. So the demand seems to push the technology every single time. I mean, I'm working off of a 6.5-year-old MacBook Pro, which I need to upgrade. But I've been, it's been hobbling along, and I've been pushing and trying to keep it doing what it needs to do. But when it comes to certain brands and identifying with brands and an emotional connection, I happen to have this emotional connection to Apple just because it permeates most of my life at this point. Even to the point of my TV watching is Apple TV Plus at this point to a great extent. But I know you guys are both PCers, except that John actually has an iPhone.
I do have an iPhone.
Actually, my computer is a Mac, and you got me curious. So mine is a mid 2014 Mac.
Oh boy!
And I have two 26-inch monitors, Apple computers. I used to have an iPhone, but my phone is an Android now. But yes, on TV, I'm using an Apple TV, and basically watch Netflix and Apple TV Plus and all of that on that. And also, my music is on iTunes. So.
Yeah, my music is on Amazon mostly, which is kind of crazy on Amazon Prime, but I'm switching over to iTunes. So just because I want the more of a seamless interaction, which is going to drive the Amazon Echo and Alexa. I don't want to say it too loud because it sets off John's. It sets off John's. Alexa, order chicken feed. No, I'm not going to. Yeah, I used to do that to him all the time.
She sits right next to me.
She sits next to you.
She does.
Oh man, but it's interesting too, because you look at different brands and the symbols. I mean, eventually you do get to a logo, but I think before you look at the logo, we talked about promise, which is something. So John promises simplified live streaming, video marketing, greater organic reach. Kayvon, you promise implementation, simplifying your life through implementation and getting things done. And so for me, mine's more of a lifestyle brand. So the fundamental, basically, I'm working on mindset so you can have more fun while you get things done, and putting the fun in funding also, because finance is a big thing that people want all the time. So, but then you move into what's the story behind your brand, or what are the beliefs? Maybe it's better to start with the beliefs. Like what do you want people to believe about your brand, or what are your highest values or beliefs? I start with Kayvon.
Yeah, well, the belief that it's behind the brand, so it's kind of implied in like a 2-layer kind of a thing, because it's one of those beliefs that we all have, but we don't think about it. And when I actually use it in my networking and communication, it kind of connects with that whole simplify, and I get a lot of yes, that from people. And the belief, I describe it in this way. Like when somebody asks me, what do you do? I'm a business growth coach. I help with people, for productivity, branding, and that's it. But what I really do, and so this way, when I move that to what I really do, you have their attention. I say, what I really do, I help people get out of their own way. And see, you have that, because that's a belief that we have. We can remember many, many occasions that we got on our own way, or we have heard it before, and we know that's one of our things, whether in the form of procrastination or fear or doubt or perfectionism, or just creating unnecessary complexity, which is, that thing. So people can think of many, many ways of getting in their own way, And if there is somebody who through simplification helps me get out of my way, I want to talk to that guy. So that's the belief and story that I put in the whole simplify brand and introducing myself.
Yeah, one of my things is to, I've had a couple of different phrases that I use. One of them was to get unstuck so you make your own luck.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like to rhyme those types of things. Or the other one was always remember to put the N after FU.
Yes.
So no matter how bad things are and how pissed off you are with the world, you can still turn things around if you just kind of work, look for something good and then go about doing good.
So what is that? FUN? Is that
FU?
And
who's this N guy that you're not happy with? FUN.
FUN. We used to live in an alleyway here in Coronado Island between F and G, and I used to call it F and G. So
yeah, there you
go. So John, so when you talk about, is there any particular phrase or something that you use, like I like sometimes I'll say, have fun while you get things done, get unstuck so you make your own luck, and et cetera, et cetera. Is there any sort of a tagline that you use?
Not per se, but a lot of the phraseologies that I use with people is video helping you to know helping people to know, like, and trust you faster. I just try to incorporate in a lot of the things that they already know about video, and that it can be it's simple but yet not easy. So I mean, there's a lot of simple parts to it, but it can be a little rough to get started sometimes.
But why is it rough? I mean, and how do you imply this? Is the implied promise of what you tell them is that they're going to make more money or get more sales or get chicks? I don't know.
Well, they're gonna do all of the above, really, because people are gonna like them more.
Do I sign up?
Yeah, we're going to.
All right.
Yeah, but single.
But I think the key things to get across are that people are going to get to like them more, resonate with them because they're working with them through video, and I've proven this out over the years. I've met with people that I've only worked with by video, and you would have thought we were old pals for life. I mean, you really couldn't tell that we'd never met in person, and I've done it over and over and over again over the years.
Actually, like all three of us,
we've never met in person.
We've never met in person.
No.
I feel closer to you guys than
anybody. I know. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So that's been kind of my history with video, in that and the way people interacted with me when I first got started, because it was like they were coming out of nowhere to ask questions, to connect, all of those things. So video to me is like a great equalizer.
So is that your brand story that you're? I mean, I'm trying to figure out the story. Like, I was. The question is the story
that really is
like
kind of the brand story?
Is the story the hero's journey, where you started at X and you wound up at Z, or
kind of
from A to Z? Like
kind of, because I really started with no crowd, no nothing, no fans, and then that really grew by doing more and more video.
Yeah, now you got just a whole incredible bunch of groupies, the Johnsters.
Exactly.
Johnsters.
Johnsters.
Not monsters, they're Johnsters.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And then, I worked in some lifestyle type stuff. I like the RV. And the RV stuff is very, that's become fairly YouTube video based. There's a lot of RVers on YouTube. So.
Well, so here's the thing. Does do recreational vehicles become a part of your brand story? If you're intending to do business from the road, or if you're trying to create an association or a community of other people?
Well, they definitely have become part of my brand story for all of those reasons, because even though I'm not a full-time RVer, I certainly can associate with that. I do a lot of work in the summer out of my RV. And so I try to include it as much in the different things that I do, so that people can see that I'm a part of that community.
Well, you had a background earlier today. We met on a Zoom call.
It's on Zoom.
Our super secret project, and John has his behemoth of the the Holiday Rambler behind him,
Yeah.
And that just strikes me as very big in terms of your branding. All you need was a video camera next to your RV.
And it is my Facebook cover. So
Yeah.
Oh,
I
there
do
you
have
go.
one as my Facebook
Now,
cover.
if it's full-time RVing, is that still recreational?
Yeah. So, well, it's not solely recreational. So lots of people have decided,
Lifestyle.
yeah, it's a total lifestyle change. So there's a big van and RV movement right now. And there's about 12 million people who, live in RVs, tiny houses, all of that stuff. And so it's become a huge, huge movement.
Very interesting. So yeah, there are huge opportunities for you in that whole RV thing, because you had talked about creating the RV HBA, the RV Home Business Association.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm part of that community.
Well, and then you teach them all video.
Yeah,
I mean, video
video
marketing, things like
or
that. So,
whatever else might help
yeah,
them in whatever business they're in.
and that creates sort of an umbrella for you, doesn't it? In terms of a branding umbrella.
Indeed, it does.
Yeah.
Indeed, it does. So I think it's good if you can, bring in some of your own personality, some of your own hobbies that you're passionate about. Attracts other people to you.
Yeah. So in branding, though, here's my question has always been, I've struggled for this for what seems like a millennia, but I haven't been alive that long, as far as I know. And it is the sometimes, or I should say often, conflict that I've had between business brand and personal brand. And now the question is, do you operate through both? Do you try to join them together and harmonize them? I know there was a guy years ago, Dr. Piscatano, I guess, out of Pittsburgh, and he had something called, it was an adjusting machine for chiropractors, which kind of worked down the spine, and it was called the Pro Adjuster. But nobody really understood what Pro Adjuster was. And so he actually had his own name. He eventually put his name above it. It was Dr. Piscatano's Pro Adjuster. So my question is, do you do something like John Paduchek's Videos Are Social, or John Paduchek's RV HBA, or how do you do that? And I'm the same question to Kayvon. I mean, do you attach your name to that, or do you hope that somehow people will get that association?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you can. I've always told other folks over the years that I think it's important to brand yourself personally and then also brand your business. But at the end of the day, when we think about big businesses, we look at Microsoft, we think about Bill Gates, right? We look at Apple, we think of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and all these different people who created Apple.
Tim Cook, not Tim Apple.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you think about, you still see the people who are the faces of the brands, and oftentimes the brands become synonymous with that person. So I've seen people do it both ways. And then I've seen other companies that are very kind of corporate, but smaller businesses tend to bring that piece of themselves into it.
Yeah, it depends on the size of each brand as well. And also what's the essence. Like, for example, many years ago, I was watching this training about writing books and choosing a book title. So the person was saying, the more famous the author gets, the bigger the name on the cover, right? So at the beginning, it could be The Adventures of so and so, and the name of the author small, but
in 9-point type.
Yeah, and then eventually you end up with the name of the author,
yeah,
as the biggest thing on the thing, and then so it's like that. So if beside trying to basically pretend that I am more famous than I am,
right?
if that pretense is not there, if I don't have a famous name, what's the point of Kayvon's so and so? That brand stands by itself. On the other hand, there is also depends on the business too. Like, for example, generally I know that one of my mentors, he didn't like the name of the businesses that they are named after people. Joe's Plumber or Peggy's Diner. For some, it might work, like law offices that their name.
I'll tell you, Polly's Pies in Long Beach, California, does work, because I just can't wait to get back to Polly's.
But at the same time, when you put your name on something, doesn't matter if it's a pie or lawyer or plumbing, you're basically saying this is not going to scale. This is not going to grow, because unless you actually create a brand like Solly's Bagels, now they're all over the place. Like Wendy's, that's somebody's
Right.
It's the
name.
daughter's name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But generally, putting a name on the brand or that sort of thing, it could be tricky.
It can be.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, what would you recommend for people moving forward into 2022 if they want to rebrand? The main principles is to
I would go with the promise of your brand. Like, look
Yeah.
at the person that we
Mhm.
all call Rich Sheffrin.
Mhm.
He can say, Rich Sheffrin's company, but still he goes with strategic
Strategic
profit.
profits. Yeah.
That's his promise, right? So it's a good way of going. So I would say because people before they would be interested in me, you, or anybody else,
Mhm.
they're interested in their own problem. They're in what's in it for me. So
Mhm.
if my brand promise, like marketing happy hour, it already has a promise in there, and it's the three of us. Other people may join, not whatever, but the brand, like a show, brand goes on. Like the show must go on. So I would say the smaller the business, the more on the promise side I liked the name
Yeah.
of the
Yeah, that's interesting because yesterday we had a torrential rains. I mean, the windows were shaking, the blowing, and just, I mean, I haven't seen anything like that in several years. And I saw a guy come in a van. He turns around in our little in the area in front of the garages. We've got 6 garages in a row, and he backs in and turns around and goes off. And it was great. The name still stuck in my head. It's Floodbusters.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was great. And he had the little logo, and it shows like something leaking, and it looked just like Ghostbusters, but it was
Yeah.
Floodbusters.
Mhm.
I thought
Blockbusters.
that was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Who are
One
you
of
going to
my,
call?
I was gonna say one of my favorites,
Blockbusters.
Exactly.
Floodbusters. One of my favorites in the Boston area. It used to be so hard to find someone to move a piano, believe it or not. And so one of my favorites around here was Death Wish Piano Movers.
Death Wish piano to prevent you from killing yourself if you have a death wish and trying
always
to
one of my
kill
favorites.
yourself to moving your own
I don't know
piano.
why, but the name kind of strikes you, and
Well, I was watching a stand-up comedian many years ago, and his name was, I don't know, something like Greg Smith or something.
okay.
But he was from Canada, and he would mention that, and he says, I know none of you are going to go home and remember my name. I have a website, so yes, I have Greg Smith or whatever his name was, that which I don't remember. I have that.com, but you're going to go home. Hey, who was that guy? The Canadian guy. He was funny too. So that's why I got thatcanadianguy.com. And he had that.
That Canadian guy.
Canadian guy.
I still remember it.
That's
Thatcanadianguy.com. And that works. See, that's good branding. That's genius
Yeah.
branding, actually.
Yeah.
It's been 20 years and I still remember it.
There you
That's
go.
like the one that I got. Hot Bald Guys.
Yeah, hotballguys.com.
Well, John, is there any other kind?
Well, they could be cold and dead because they got crushed under Death Wish piano.
Maybe.
I mean,
But doesn't that give you kind of a vision? You think of people moving a piano out of some tall building in
I
downtown
can see it
Boston.
coming
or-
out of the window of
yeah,
just
yeah.
near the fire escape, and suddenly
Out to
being
the street.
dropped.
And Wild E. Coyote is right under it.
Pretty much, yeah, or
Yeah.
some hot bald guy.
There you go.
So,
Anyways,
Well,
off the rails quickly.
If it's good for Captain Picard, it's good for me.
it's good for me.
That's good. Yeah,
Exactly.
make it so. El Grey,
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
Hey, so
that just goes to tell you, it's 24th century, it's so much technology, so much advancement, but they still haven't been able to fix baldness.
No,
that's right.
they have
That's
not.
right. It may be actually be a
They've been working
deficit.
on it, but failing.
I was going to ask you. Oh yeah, so I had a brand name that I was going to release, and it was I still have it. The .net, the .com, and all the other things like that. It's bigbusinessgrowth.com, and I didn't use it because I was concerned that people would think it was only for big business.
Right.
But I talked to several different people, and they said no. The implication is that you're going to have big growth for a business.
Yeah.
Right.
And then most people wouldn't think that you only deal with Fortune
Yeah.
500 companies.
Mm.
I remember I had a domain name that I sold for, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 a bunch of years ago.
Wow, that's quite a range.
That
Yeah,
is.
and
5 to 10.
and the domain name was, because it was, with the conversion and all of that. Anyway, so the business name was businesspropel.com.
Business what?
Propel.
Businessprofile.com.
Oh, profile. I thought you said
No,
propel.
not profile. Propel, like propeller.
Propel. Yeah, like
Yeah.
propeller. Moving
Propel.
forward.
Oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
Propel.
Business Propel, and it
That's good.
worked for them. They approached me and said, "Do you want to sell that?" Sure. So gave them an offer that they couldn't refuse, and we had a
Wrote you
deal.
a big check.
Was
Nice.
there a horse's head involved or?
Huh?
No horse's head. No.
No, sorry, no horse's head. Okay.
It's only in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so back to, so we have the story, we have the promise, we have the beliefs. Now, do you ever change your beliefs when you're working into the rebranding? Do you add something, subtract something? What's the, I mean, first of all, I'm assuming that when you're coaching and consulting that you're going to have the belief that you can help people.
Yeah.
Of course.
That
And
you're
I
just not out
want
there
to go
much.
with singular belief, one belief behind the brand.
One belief.
Yeah, one
So
big
we got
idea.
one word, one belief, and one promise.
Yeah, there you go. So one core concept, one belief, so too many beliefs is like one of those
Like a
company
mission statement where it goes
mission
on for like
statement,
20,
company
yeah.
values, like they
Yeah.
have 15 values. Okay, dude, the commandments for like 10 commandments, you have 25.
25? I thought they'd be cheaper by the dozen.
Yeah, but there, I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, so one belief. What's the main one belief / one promise, one core idea behind the brand? Like, videos are social.
Mm-hmm.
One concept, one belief. We're good. Fundamental.
You will be happy.
Done. Or your money back.
Or your money back. Or your life back.
Yeah. So
John,
wait,
what's your
there's
one
more.
belief? But wait, there's more. There's
Yes.
John Paduchak with his
There's
one
me.
belief.
My one belief that making video doesn't have to be difficult.
There you go.
Making videos are easy. It's easy to make videos.
It's relatively easy.
It's easy, fun, and you'll get them done with John Paduchak.
That's right.
And you know what? Speaking of a promise,
And you got a mobile pocket studio right there.
Yes, there's a studio in your pocket.
and I like videos don't have to be hard a lot more than videos are easy. That
Yeah.
has,
Yeah.
that speaks to my problem, that I can put myself in that sentence, that create videos are easy seems like so many of other something is
Yeah.
easy, false promises that we have received.
So should I
Videos are
say you
easy.
no longer have to be a miserable bastard?
Nope. You don't have to be unless you choose to.
You can if you want, but it's up to you. Yeah, I think videos are easy is something people try to tout all the time, and it's not necessarily true. But videos are, not difficult. You
Easier?
certainly can. Yeah, well,
Videos ain't hard.
they ain't hard. No. So usually what happens is people that I work with get overwhelmed with the technology. They aren't quite sure where to start. They have a fear of the camera. Those are the kinds of things that are the things behind the scenes that we're dealing with all the time. So none of those have to stop you. You can always have a workout buddy. You can always have somebody like me who shows you how to work your way through the technology and keep things simpler than what they are.
Yeah. So things don't get worser.
Things don't get worse. Exactly.
For the California Tourism Board, they came up with something years ago, and they refer to it now as Funner California.
Funner. California's funner.
Yeah.
Funner, which
Funner
of
in the
course does not exist in the dictionary, but it exists in marketing. So
Yes.
funner. Maybe that's why I got the fundamental thing.
I like it when marketers just invent stuff, like they invent diseases, halitosis.
Halitosis, baby.
It's not a disease, but there you go.
It's a condition. Well, pregnancy isn't a disease either, but it's got a category.
Yes.
It's listed. It has an ICD-10 code. So
Oh.
yeah, pregnancy. And so you can the diagnosis pregnancy. They treat it like a disease. So,
well, it's a parasite, isn't it?
it is a parasite living off of you. Oh man, that's a rough one, but it's true. It's so true.
Yes.
So somebody used to say, what was it, a friend of mine had 4 kids, and she said that after every child, she felt that each kid took a little bit more of her brain capacity away.
I'm sure. I've
Like
heard
it
that
pulled a
something
few
before.
brain cells out of there.
Yeah.
Somebody,
I was watching the Jim Gaffigan, the comedian. He had 5 kids, and he said, having the 5th kid, if you want to know what is it like, it's like you're drowning, and somebody hands you a baby.
Hands you a baby.
That's the 5th kid.
Oh,
hey, I'm the oldest of 5, and I think my parents could relate to that very, very easily. Come to think of
you're
it,
drowning and somebody hands you a baby.
and again, handing you a baby.
A rock.
Oh man. So what would you distill as the major recommendations for somebody who wants to rebrand? I mean, first of all, why would they even want to rebrand? Are they not getting enough traction? Are sales down? Or is there intense competition? Are they getting lost in a crowd?
I think one reason is that the delivery or the promise of the business is changing.
Mm-hmm.
So if the promise is changing, you want to rebrand it. The other one is, they still want to stay in the same business, and they have new ways of doing business, but they don't want to associate with all of the things that didn't work in the past. So basically, starting if it's a new start. At the same time, not rebranding as what we just talked, as in putting the promise in the name of the brand for the sake of better conversion, better keyword association, and all of that. I think those are good reasons for rebranding.
Yeah, for me, it signals typically a pivot, a different way of wanting to be looked at by your audience. And I had another thing that I was thinking of with that. I think the other thing is a simplification. We've watched over the years different companies simplifying their brands. I think when we first talked about this, we were looking at like Starbucks, and Starbucks had kind of a complex logo, it was like super complex when they first started, and it got simpler and simpler and simpler as time went on. And sometimes simpler conveys more meaning than complicated. Complicated is just like kind of overly complicated.
I almost lost my hat on that one.
It just because it's too wordy. If you look back at some of the old logos that we looked at, they were like too wordy. You can see, they really kind of simplified their messaging as time went on, and I think it's the simplification of a message.
It's like Fred Thompson and Sons, except Patrick.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. And like that money transfers brand, which was called TransferWise, and it's now just Wise. Yeah, they made it simpler.
Well, and also, as you start getting into this stuff, I think the desire. So sometimes you want to get people almost joining in with a deep emotional connection to your brand, like an Apple or like maybe a Microsoft, but less so
like
than
Apple. All the fragrances.
Yeah.
Like
push me in the bushes number 5.
We're seeing a lot of that right now with all the fragrances, and then Facebook with Meta. That's been the common one that people are talking about right now.
Well, I guess because Meta, they want to be all encompassing.
Yeah,
everything will be contained in this one giant container of audio visual experience. One of the things that something came to mind, and I lost my train of thought too, John. It's contagious. Maybe Kayvon probably knows what it was. So.
And Amazon, I think of Amazon as being, not too many companies are successful being all encompassing.
Right. Yeah. But there is a case to be made for being more of a generalist. If you were a consultant, for example.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Neil Schaefer the other day, who's big as big social media consultant, both in Japan. He's big in Japan as well as here in Orange County. And one of the things he was saying was, because he's a what they call I don't know if he came up with this or somebody else did, but he calls himself a fractional CMO. So he's a chief marketing officer, but just a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
And he is actually an employee. So he's creating this whole little category
very popular
for
right
himself.
now.
It's very interesting to be the fractional CMO. But one of the things he said was that he said being a generalist in this case is very good because he can pull marketing ideas from different businesses and different avenues of business in totally different industries to be able to provide a fresh perspective for clients.
Right.
So,
I think that's a kind of a unique concept, the fractional CEOs, CFOs, CMOs. It's kind of cool that you can actually go out, I don't need a full-time person, but I'd really like so-and-so's expertise, and I can just bring them in for that little piece that I need.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
it's a regular
Speaking of
gig.
brand names, some of them are frustrating to me. Like
Like
for
what?
example, like Zoom. It was very frustrating for me to search for how to zoom in and out with my monitor camera and not get all of the results coming with the Zoom software.
Yeah.
That's that I'm talking about. I'm talking about zooming in and out. So, or the music group called The Band. How hard is it to look for the band or
quotations help a lot.
Yeah, there is another music group called Live. Well, how do I search for one of the live performances of Live?
Of the Live.
I'm not
live music from the group
Live.
called Live. In quotes. In quotes.
Well, so that brings up a really good point because I also have been equally frustrated with that in the last couple of weeks because I've been looking up a bunch of stuff. And so there's a good side and a bad side to this. So the bad side is if you don't think beyond the simple, you're probably not going to find what you're looking for. But if you think past that and you look at real like long tail type sentence structure or keywords, you're going to find what you're looking for. So I think in the end it's frustrating, but it makes you a better researcher for stuff.
I mean, you could brand yourself John the Video Guy. Remember this fellow who's got Ray the Video
sort
Guy?
of have over the years.
John the Video Guy.
It's like Larry the Cable Guy.
Kinda.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right.
So niching down is not always necessary. The other thing is, it was interesting to me to see how we were talking about Starbucks a little bit earlier, so I'm going to go back there. Is that when you have your brand, you've already established what your values are, what your promises, and everything else, and you reach a certain point where you can become iconic, and so you see a logo eventually becomes almost like an icon or a hieroglyphic.
Yeah.
That it has all this meaning contained within it.
Yeah,
and
like the golden arches.
Yeah, you just see golden arches and boom, people know that's McDonald's.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is true. If you see a little white bird inside of a blue circle, it's Twitter. It's not even saying Twitter. It's just same thing. Instagram,
Actually,
Facebook.
it's the other way around. It's a blue bird inside a white circle. But yes,
it depends. Because the good thing about being iconic is they reverse it in different ways depending upon where they're being advertised or what the background is. Yeah, sometimes it's a blue bird, sometimes it's a white bird. Sometimes you just want to give them the bird.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea that when you created an account and you didn't have a profile picture, it was just an egg.
It's an egg.
It's an egg.
You haven't hatched yet. You have not hatched.
It took me a while to get that one, but then I realized, that's why it's an egg.
They already knew you were a good egg. I think so. So, speaking of thinking so, I think we're at we're pretty much
45 minutes.
We did about 45 minutes, which is fine. We're not doing Clubhouse these days, although I know a couple people who are doing probably a violation of terms of service, but they're doing a simulcast on Clubhouse, YouTube, Instagram Live, and TikTok. But apparently, you're not supposed to record Clubhouse, so go figure that one out. But I got to say,
I'm recording there.
They're broadcasting though.
Yeah, they're just broadcasting, recording it elsewhere. I don't see a problem with that.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it's a different story. Yeah. Anyway, but any final words of branding and why to rebrand and what you want to consider? Any words of wisdom from our wise guys?
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky. No, I think we had a good conversation.
Yeah.
I like this whole idea of putting the promise in the name of the brand and just having a simple name.
Mhm. The only thing I would add to what we said so far is that, as you go along, sometimes you think, I don't want to go through a process of rebranding, but I think it's really good every once in a while to do kind of a soft rebranding, just a simplification, clarifying your message. Those are the reasons to do it. And so if you've gone through a process or a time period where your business has pivoted or changed a little bit, sometimes you need that to get the word out. Or let people
Yeah,
know what you're doing.
I know with agency branding and stuff, I realize now one of our implied promise was maximize your media, which is that pretty clear. It's a long word, but it,
Yeah,
long
but it's
tail
clear.
thing, but it
It's
does
a
tell
promise.
you what you're going to get. Yeah, the promise is maximize your media. Fundamental, less so, but I was thinking about the fundamental thing in terms of fundamental health. Of course, then people think it's more mental health than anything else. But Fundamental Shift was an identity shift program that I've been working on, where you change from wantrepreneur to entrepreneur. It's from want to do something to successfully actually implementing something. And the other one was, I just thought of it when we were talking about Rich. I was thinking fundamental profits. And that could actually work really well. But as long as I finish actually finishing the trademark, because it's already in process for Fundamental, then you can roll it out. And I wanted something basically that would live beyond me.
Right.
And so that's why I didn't want, Vogelmanism or whatever you want to call it. So just not so good. Not so good.
Yeah, I'll go with the philosophy, not the cult.
Exactly. Well, no, I'm trying to create a cult. I'm trying to create a cult.
A cult following.
Culture.
Philosophy.
So it's the fundamental program. They are fundamentalists.
Yes.
Mentalism there, and it is fundamentalism. So.
Yes.
Community, not communism.
Community. Community shirts. Get the merch.
Yeah, community, but not a commune, maybe. I don't know.
The commune,
Yeah.
yes. Oh boy.
Yes.
All right. With that, we'll be toddling off right now. So we realize that most of you watch this on replay. I should have said this at the very beginning, but we had some technical issues. Please use the hashtag replay, because that way we know that you are watching, and it also sprinkles a little magic social fairy dust on us, elevating our visibility. So we will be back here Wednesday of next week, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and all the times in between. If it is Wednesday, you should be ready for the Hump Day Marketing Happy Hour. We will see you next week.